And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Let's Talk Real Life with Ms. Nada Manning. I'm your co-host, Coach Vernon Garrison, and we are delighted to present to you a very wholesome subject today. But first of all, I want to let you know where we're coming from. This is WECU 107.5 Awesome Radio. Join us on our social media network. Awesome Radio Facebook, Awesome Radio YouTube, and of course, our affiliate station, if you will, partner in social media would be, I almost forgot it, but I didn't forget it. All right, there will be GPAT 23. It's the local access channel. It just didn't come out like it naturally does. But check us out, GPAT 23, local access channel, YouTube and Facebook. And you can look for that broadcast of the Let's Talk Real Life with Ms. Nada Manning. You can look for that broadcast throughout the week. And our radio show usually airs on Wednesday evening at around 11 p.m. So thank you very much. And without a delay in thought, here is our host, Miss Nada Manning.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning to some, wherever you are. I say hello to each of you. It is a pleasure once again to be on the air talking to you and bringing forth some information. Hopefully you'll find very interesting. I know we have, as we talked about it. And it's just a wonderful time of the year. And we want to talk about, what do Black men want? Wow. What do Black men want? Now, that right there is a very, very, can it be toxic? Yeah, it can be. But we want to keep it nice and smooth and gentle and sweet and all those positive things. Because as I have been mentioning several weeks now, several months actually, during this whole year, I've been putting emphasis on men, how important men are, how important fathers are, how important their role is. Grandfathers, uncles, brothers, the male gender, period. How important that is to help things to go better, not just in the family, but in their professional lives. And some of this information that we're sharing is going to be about professionalism, not always about their own personal lives, which plays a large part on how professional they will become or already are. So I would like very much to have some input on this subject of what do Black men want? What? And I said to Coach earlier, I said, okay, you can expect some questions and exactly what do you all want? What do you want? Now, I think it can be a few subtopics of wealth and health. And right now we're in the 2024 election season time frame. And part of that can be somewhat of a discussion as well, because this election, as we all know, is going to weigh largely on how we move forward in our lives, especially the men, and their focus on what they really want in life. How do they want to live their lives? What strategies are they going to have to build on after this 2024 election? So we want to bring forth some data and some facts and some personal experience as well. So please tune in with us, stay with us. If you don't hear it all now, maybe you can tune in at some other point, because this is going to be airing next Wednesday. But we're talking about it next Wednesday, meaning, what is that, November the 6th, to talk about various things, but we're just pre-recording now. So anyway, enough said. Wealth, health, and wellness with our Black men. Coach, you want to chime in?
Well, I think that
what do you want?
Well, I'm about to tell you. I already had lunch. I got too much money in the bank. Um, I'm never lonely, so I don't need companionship. No, that
That
was an
must be
odd
nice.
list right there. That I was just kicking out right there on
You don't need any money. You don't need
it.
companionship. So, I mean, well, what do you want? What
I want to catch a fish. That's what I want to do.
you want
I
to catch
haven't
a fish?
I haven't been fishing as much as I should have this year. And I remember my son telling me way back, he said, "Dad, your best years are the years that you fished a lot." And I broke my promise to fish more than I actually have this year, to get that fresh catch and to bring it to the fire, and then from the fire to the table. What men want, I'm going to jump right in pretty deep. What men want likely is what men need. I think we want, the wants and desires are just byproducts of what we crave. And one, I believe men crave God. I believe men crave the helpmate that God put on the earth for us men. And if you don't subscribe to that, then I woke up this morning and I looked out the window and I was like, okay, what am I going to do today? Single, black man. And I said, the whole world is at my fingertips. And I said, that sounds so selfish. And I thought, I said, what if I had a female companion? And I said, oh no, I ain't giving up no space. I'm gonna carry on with my vision. But then I translated into, if God gave me a woman, she would be following my vision. And I wouldn't necessarily have to. Now I'm gonna get in real life with you guys who follow me closely. I wouldn't have to translate it into, oh, what time you go to work today? What area of the state you gonna be working in? I would be translating in, what are we doing today? What do we got? What invoices, what paperwork we got to do? It would be a partnership with that woman. So I think, now I'm not saying everybody that's got a love life or a life of love, spouse, married, they're doing it the wrong way. I'm just saying that would be utopia, and that's how God made it, and that's how He wrote it. And so if you got any issues with that, just kind of put that aside for a moment and hear me out. If you just had one vision for your family and it met all of the needs for the family. So I want you to talk about, well, what if he ain't making enough money? What if I'm not making enough money? No, I'm not talking about all of that. You guys have one vision. And I think, to answer your question, I think that's the number one thing. If I could go backwards, there's a whole lot of important things that men, I think, need, but that need cannot outweigh, that desire cannot outweigh the need for a man to be wholesome with a vision that includes a woman, bearing children, bearing his children, because the women can't bear them by themselves, bearing him children and passing on the seed, the legacy, the great grands. So I think what men want is that relationship with God that will fund that will build him into a man, that will build him into an empire with a focused vision. And I'm not having to worry about what my wife has got going on over there in her vision. And then she got to come over there and try to take care of loose ends in my vision. No. One. Now, I did not say it was mandatory that his family's got to be one, but that's where I think we go off the road at. And I will debate all day long about, carrying a couple of visions in the house. It got to be one vision. Don't have to be, but it would be one vision. Your kids do what you tell them to do. You train them. You get them the education they need to get to build the family. And I'm going to stop talking because I'm rambling. But you direct your kids. You train your children. Then they will have their needs met. And then they can do off and do other little things that they want to do on the side. Race for a living, ski to the Alps, be a cosmetologist. but they got to cover the CPA, the attorney, the insurance agent, the pharmacist, the what else you need in your family? You need somebody to dig the graves, and you also need what do we call those funeral people? You need one of them in your family, and all of that. That's what men want. That's just one thing right there. They want God, and they want what God gave them, so they can get what God wants them to do done.
Okay, so now you just said in the beginning when you started talking that you didn't need none of that. You had all the money you wanted. You don't need no woman. You don't need no companionship. You good. All you need to do is go fish. Okay. So having said that,
well, that was for entertainment purposes only. You gotta tell some white lies so people will get their attention, so they'll stay and watch the show a little longer. And I got a few more coming up. If you just think about that.
And I can hear some of them saying, "Now, what is wrong with that dude? Well, I mean, what do you mean? What? He want to go fish? That's all he want out of life? Wow, really?" But that's just the way some people would just look at it. And I understand how you did that. It was an attention getter, okay? But so I'm understanding you to say that men really want to have wholeness in their lives, and that wholeness requires a companion. But as far as the children go, some truthfully speaking, we're talking real life, folks. I apologize. This is Let's Talk Real Life, and this is the show that we're talking about some real life issues. So now, I'm going to be kind of off the grid, kind of, sort of, I guess you want to call it. Do you believe that it requires the children to make the wholeness there? I mean, some people, realistically speaking, some people don't want children. Some people are not capable of having children. What if you get with someone and you're married to someone and one or the other cannot produce children? Does that mean that that's a non-fit? I have to beg to differ, because truthfully speaking, real life is there are a lot of children out there that could use and stand to be around and benefit from a mom and dad, if you will, so that adoption process can work out for those children. There's a reason why there are so many women that cannot have children.
Okay, I'll answer your question. Okay, so once you're in the courtship stages of your plight to find a woman, it is kind of up to your mom and dad. And I'm not saying this position is filled, but I think the position is filled or fulfilled, and filled is a couple of different things. You probably should look after your children and let them know, hey, when you choose a woman, make sure you're choosing a host as well as a woman, somebody who can bear your children. And then perhaps you know a little bit about the medical history. And or you can get that through just sheer observation, through your intuitiveness, your discernment, if you meet the parents of your future daughter-in-law. Okay, now I'm just being textbook right here. Now I did meet one of my son's girlfriends once, and I met her mother. Okay, yeah, we went out to eat, and all of us went, and I met her mom. I said, Lord, what a basket case. And I was talking to myself. I'm not doing general public like I am right now, but you know how we do, and we shouldn't. But I said, oh, Lord. Well, looking down the road, I was getting phone calls from that young girl I'm just telling all my business. That young girl that my son was with, and they were fighting all the time.
Okay. Is that something that would...
Go ahead.
Is that something that would fall under the category of what Black men want? What how, is there an age category where a man, black man, because we're talking about black men, is there an age category that will help a man to decide actually what he wants in life?
Well, I would say this. If you're just going on the stereotypical or the traditional trail of finding a mate, is starting in high school. Okay. You got run-ins in junior high, like I did, that become lifetime, or was supposed to be lifetime partners. All right. But in high school, you start vetting people, and then in college, you really, supposed to get serious before girls, they have the biological clock that they're working with. It's getting late when they start turning 26, 27, 28. By 30, the biological clock is ticking, and it's saying, all right, look, you got to bear children now. This is the best time if you haven't already. So they kind of line that biological clock up with finding a male and graduating from college when you sort of like early 20s, and you got a little time there. So there's the clock right there for the body. Now the body's ready to bear children at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that clock right there started. So if you're talking about what I was saying earlier, the guy looking at the girl, choosing a girl, there's a lot of cases the girl's choosing the guy, you need to know something about that family. Now, once you have chosen her and you put the ring on her finger, all of that preliminary medical history research stuff should be done in pastoral counseling and premarital counseling. I do premarital coaching, and I said, all right, I'm going to bid you to that if there's anything clinical or medical or any type of issues that now this is with older couple, that you guys need to reveal to each other, mental health issues, social hang-ups. You need to share these things with each other right now. Now, I'm about to leave the room so you can do so. And I left the room for about 30 minutes. Every time I guess they figured I was going to come back in, I didn't come back in. And so that they could air it out. Now, that was her time to say, sir, I'm not bearing, I can't have no children. Sir, I can't, my childbearing days are over. Or ma'am, I've been had a vasectomy. I can't give you any children. So I think that's the time that it should be drawn out of them. Now, if it's discovered, if you say, hey, my mom had a clinical condition where she couldn't have children, then obviously you want to get checked out. Now, you do the very best you can. I know you're ready to talk. I'm trying to narrow this down. Do the very best in the God-given counsel that you can. Now, once you have chose that woman, and then you find out that she cannot bear children, or you find out that you are seedless, y'all together. So whatever y'all decide to do, adopt children, whatever, do the needle, the surgeries, whatever you do is done to the glory of God and to the fact that you want to bring forth children in that marriage. So whatever has happened after you discover that, or if you marry a woman knowing that she cannot have children, or knowing that he's been cut, as some people call it, then you're also doing that in faith. And 10 years down the line, you're like, let's have children. Well, I would have had children if you hadn't got that vasectomy. Well, look, I did that before we got married. Well, I knew you couldn't have children before we got married, and now we want children, so we just gonna have to adopt or ask for a miracle. Now let's shut up about it and let's move it on.
Okay. What do Black men want? They want security. They want, I guess I can say what else? They want to be fairly treated in whatever it is that they're trying to do in their lives. Most Black men today, I think now, I'm not a man, but this is what I'm observing. Most Black men as far as being fairly treated. I talked with a gentleman this morning, and he was expressing that the decisions that were made about purchasing a car versus one dealership versus another, that decision was made solely because he was Black. Black men want to be treated fairly. They want the same, not that, well, women, all of us want to be treated fairly, but specifically the Black men seem to have the short end of the stick in today's society when you want to compare the men to the women in the Black race. And the man is supposed to be, we all know is supposed to be head of the household, but seemingly it appears everywhere he turns, he gets the short end of the stick, so to speak. He have to fight twice as hard, sometimes triple as hard, or struggle to get from point A to point B, as opposed to the other men in our society. So it kind of put a low spirit in them, on their will to, they either going to continue to try even harder to make it, or they just going to just, you know what, forget it. It is what it is. You know, I can try, but so much. I can only stand to be turned down so many times. And when it's blatant that what he is trying to do is being sabotaged, then it puts a ill spirit in them, which brings me to mind about what I said a few weeks ago on the show about, and maybe I didn't bring it up in the show, but anyway, about their participation and trust in God to help them through such crisis. I'm thinking that men have a harder time, and we're talking about what Black men want. They want to stop struggling so hard. Now, everybody have to struggle at some point to appreciate what they get from struggling. Now that is what it is. But Black men seem to have such a hard time moving forward in certain areas, such as becoming an entrepreneur. It takes a strong, determined mind to fight through the struggles that they are going to be facing, all of the obstacles that's going to be put in their path. It makes it very difficult for them, which, by the way, I'm thinking that's where the female companion can come in. Not always the female, but the female is helpful because they can give them the boost that they need when they come home at the end of the day. You can't give up, babe. You know, let's try this and the other, and so forth and so on. So Black men want that support system in different ways of being supported. And then there's the finances that causes a lot of issues with the men. How can you be the head of a household when you are not financially stable enough in your mind, the way you want to be, to move forward, to start to become an entrepreneur, if that's your dream, or because, just to run the household the way you want it to run? The finances become a huge issue. Well, then that's where the significant other, the woman that's in his life, to come along and support him. But a lot of men don't have that support. Truthfully speaking, a lot of men don't have that support. For various reasons, they don't have that support. They could have a significant one at home, but that significant one at home might not be very supportive, which creates another stress factor for him. And that's another thing that a lot of men are facing. When you're talking about what do Black men want, nobody wants to be stressed all the time, but life, the way it presents itself, causes a lot of issues for men to be stressful. So having said all of this, brings me to other points of the racial tendency that's in our society that prevents men. They have difficulty getting loans, seemingly more so than a female. And you ask yourself, why is that? Why is it that the men have to struggle so hard? Why is it that their strategy and what one might call handouts, but handouts to me is more like can it be a cop-out? Your thoughts, sir? They just want a fair shot at growing. They want to have a fair shot at growing and producing and having something in life. And then when they get it, they want to be wise enough and conscientious enough to do the right thing to produce more than what they've already accomplished. Let what they've accomplished work for them to move forward to have more so that they can help the next person, help his son or his nephew, the next man. Men have to support. What does the word say? Iron sharpens iron. Men are in a position, and so are women, but men in particular are in a position where they are supposed to be, if allowed, if given the provisions to do so, to help the next man, to help the son, to help the nephew, the male in the family, to show them how this is where it's done. Yes, sir.
I see where you're going with that, and I have to control my thoughts here, so I got to give you the gold nuggets that I got from God right here recently, or confirmed. I just, confirmed it. One, I can tell a lot of men have not been affirmed by another black man. Right. I'm not playing the race card here, no way at all. By a meaning, let me translate by another black man. I can tell a lot of men, black men, have not been affirmed by their father. Yeah. Because, it's something about, or a knight by the king. Men sort of need a right to go through sort of a rite of passage into manhood or in coming into the knowledge. It's following some type of biological clock or physical growth, spiritual growth. Okay. Just because you got all the knowledge of the Bible, that don't mean you qualified to be bishop next week and you ain't 16 years old. You haven't lived long enough. So there's an example of a biological, applicable life. And I can tell by talking to some men, they have not been affirmed because they do not know how to talk to a Sigma male and definitely not an alpha male. They will I can put on an alpha persona, a leadership, a strong coach. And if we're not in the locker room and we're on the street talking about a particular subject or in the community, they're not going to hear me. They're not going to hear me because I can tell they're not used to a strong voice. So I usually use my Sigma talent, and I got to wait. And I got to wait until they discover that I'm in the room. And that's more like me anyways. People know I'm in the room because I'm likely one of the tallest people in there. But I don't want to be the loudest other than just in personality. But when it comes to knowledge, a guy told me, was in having a Waffle House discussion, and he said, Vernon, man, you don't necessarily always got to be the smartest guy in the room. And he was right. So when you start asking for my opinions, I probably shouldn't always give you the full blown, but that's the number one of the things that God set up with me. So the other aspect is the social relationship that you were talking about with society and what we consider successful. Mm-hmm. Society's got a social construct that's based on capitalism, that's based on money. That determines whether you're successful or not. And when they built this society, colonialistic society, they built it based on capital assets and buying and trading and property ownership and interest and growth. And they built it on a lot of numerical values. We have taken our life and made numbers out of it. There's no way you should be judging me on whether I'm on Wall Street or I am the greatest talent in the NFL or I'm a bishop in the church, or I'm a manager at Walmart, or I'm a landscaper. Those are all the same. Those are all. If you talking about a landscaper, I don't know about that with a landscaper and somebody on Wall Street, two different things. Hush your mouth. Who got cash out there? Let me show you why a landscaper is probably more important than a lawyer.
Yeah.
You mess around, you don't cut your grass in your yard, that you're gonna be about this high, gonna be 4, 5, 6 inches high. You looking at it like, what? Don't cut your grass. Just stop cutting it for the next 5 years. Now, I ain't even got to be hypothetical. Stop doing any maintenance in your yard and see what happens to your house. Them weeds and them vines and them trees going to flat right out do what they do. You're going to think they're attacking you, but they're just going to engulf your whole property, and property value going down, down, down. Trees dropping limbs on your house. You try to tell me a landscaper is not as important as a stockbroker, a lawyer. So no reason. One more example. I know you got something to say. If your 2-year-old child ever says, I don't want to live here no more. I can't. Y'all ain't paying the rent on time. This house ain't like the house over there on the other side of town is worth $5 million, Daddy. But no, they want to know what you gonna feed them. They want you to love them. They want you to put clothes on them. Now you start training them to wear earrings. You start letting them put makeup on. You start letting them watch you put makeup on. They're gonna not feel complete unless they standing there in the mirror by the time they're 8 years old, putting makeup on and putting the same thing on and saying the same things you say about what a successful person is. And everything you have said out loud in that house, you program that child. That God didn't have nothing to do with the way that you determine how successful a black man is. And a black man is our own. The marks in society have been moved. Every time we achieve something, they move the mark. Every time you achieve, it's almost like somebody say, jump over this, then you jump over there. Jump over this, and then they got a blindfold on you. Jump over this. And then every time you jump, they moving it up. I can't put my hand on the video. Every time they jump, you jump, they moving it up. And you don't know they're moving the standard. That's what we face. And yet, so to black men that are listening, we are the bomb.com. We are one of the strongest bodies, figures in stature, in shoulder, in everything that God could put in one person. And if you take a bull and you deceive that bull, he's gonna be running after a red blanket. But that bull, if he got you, boy, you gonna go flying through the air, and then he get you with that head. So no, we keep moving the mark on black men socially. That's why you got us asking for our rights. We were born with our rights. We so powerful and so strong that if it weren't for social status and us feeling like we're not worthy because you keep moving the mark, we'd be running this joint. And we actually are running this joint. Look at the election. It's based on the black man. So we're living based on what people telling us to think, but not by what we actually are and who we are. Sorry for the long answer.
No problem. Couple of things on what you were saying when you were talking about the men and their in their being and being raised in the home. When they see mom, and this is where the parents come in, and this is where mom can do what she can do. But like you were saying, it doesn't matter the gender. 8-year-old is an 8-year-old, male or female, and they see mom standing there doing this and putting on the hair and then all this other stuff and doing the nails, and that little boy need to be trained to know this is not what you do, little man. This is not what you do.
Too late now.
Huh?
Too late now.
Too late? Okay. Well, I'm just saying that many times that's what causes, that's where the confusion come with these men trying to decide, little boys trying to decide what they're going to be, a man or a girl or a woman. And so it starts at home, like I've always been saying throughout the show, throughout the several months and years. It starts at home. So what do Black men want when it comes to being a dad? I say Black men should want their son to grow up to be a very productive, prominent, respectful man in every sense of the word. But you have to train them to be so. Black men want that for their boys. But understand, Black men, you fathers out there, understand that you need to be in that boy's life to make this happen. Not that the girls don't need you, but the boys need you even more, I think.
Well,
the
fact that you have to say that is insulting.
Okay.
That you have to say that the men need to be in a boy's life. And I think that starts when the child is first born. We just let the women take care of the children. And so to speak, go back to work or something.
So what's the insult?
No, I'm saying it's insulting that you have to remind men that they need to be with their children. It's a given. I think women got in the way of saying that men need their children. Men need to say, "Oh, I need my boy. You ain't taking my boy. This is my son. What you talking about? I'm not. If anybody leaving, you leaving. I'm keeping the kids. No, these are my children." You're not hearing that conversation in court. I guarantee you, right down the street, they talking about, is the mother fit to keep the children, and is the father fit to visit them? or, have somebody. It's already starting from a point of weakness for a man,
right?
Because they don't get to keep the child as infants, and the women, y'all hog up all the baby time, and that's weird. I learned this after the fact, but. No, men should be more involved in the infancy and the raising of their children as an infant. But I don't hear nobody talking about that. Right. And that would create the stronger bond. And you wouldn't have to tell me I need to spend time with my son. Oh, I've been told that as a husband. Well, you need to spend time with your boy. Well, if I could find him, if he ain't so much into this basketball and practice, and then. Because he broke our routine when he got about 15 to 16. Other than that, we spent 1,000 man hours and son hours together.
And is that uncommon at that age for the young men to branch off from dad around 15 or 16 when they're becoming men themselves and they have their own chest out and they have their own personality developed? Is that so uncommon for the boys to branch away from the nest?
No, I mean, the time you will notice they spend more time with their friends.
Yes.
It's just the bond that I was referring to.
Yeah.
The bond changes or gets challenged, and you don't know. Now, in their mind, it's like, I know dad is there. I know he'll come pick me up from basketball practice. I know he'll come pick the rest of the kids up if they need a ride home, psychologically. But you don't feel, you stop getting benefits from that bond once they start hitting that age where they're spending more time with their friends.
Right. So as we move forward, folks, talking about what do Black men want, we've touched on some categories. Let's talk about the wellness part. We've talked about wealth. Let's talk about wellness. What do Black men want when it comes to their health? Their being, their bodies, their mental status. Now that right there is a whole category, that mental health thing in Black men. We touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about how they are being, I don't want to use the word controlled, but it is kind of since a way of controlling them in our society and limiting their ability to do things. They know what they want to do, but then they are prevented. It's like a roadblock for many of them, and they're not able to move forward in the way that they would like to go. So that mental health, you know, the head of our bodies, the noggin that's sitting on our shoulders, is what lead us to go in different directions in life. And if that noggin on our shoulders is tampered with in any way, shape, or form, then it hinders a lot of things from happening as far as that mental status go. And it leads into physical disability, our emotional ability or disability. When that mental thing kicks in with that man and what he think he's supposed to be or what he know he should be doing, it creates a problem. So that mental health is a huge, huge, huge area. Do I want to call it deficiency? If you want to look at it that way. But with these men and what the subject is of what do Black men want? They want to be mentally stable. In order to do that, they need that support system that we talked about a little bit ago.
Let me, I gotta, I'll be talking more about this on another platform here in the near future. But one of the elements of how you can be unalived, is how an individual can be unalived is someone assaults you or assaults the host before you are born.
You say unalive, L-I-V-E?
Yes, that's another word for K-I being K-I-L-L-E-D.
Okay.
So social media has a new buzz, not saying the M word or the word that means death. So to ways that someone can unalive you. Okay. And one of my biggest points is someone that in a method of someone unaliving you is they rape your mama. Your mom has seed coming forth. She has eggs in her body already. Now, I'm not wanting to be putting everything on Satan, but you are attacked before you were born, like I was, but I still made it here. But once you are attacked before you get here, you suffer the mental aspects of the attack before you were even born. Is either through poverty, hostility, sexual abuse, psychological, emotional trauma that was put on your mom or your dad's environment that you were born in. So now you just got to start with that trauma that's already there when you are born, and you have to fight that trauma right there. Mm-hmm. You've been traumatically influenced wherever you popped out at. Now, you didn't ask to be born into a wooden spoon family or a silver spoon family. Okay, how you chose, but now you're already starting behind the 8 ball with an environment that's negative, alcohol, drugs, abuse. That's what I mean. Tangible environmental issues that affect your mental health that cause you to struggle from the very beginning. Now, I know this is not my show, so let me head to the answer. You can struggle or be struggled over or be attacked all your life being a legitimate, upstanding, right, good-hearted, God-invested person and still come out a criminal, a thief, a liar, a drug addict.
And why is that?
Because the environment that I just told you about conditioned you. You were assaulted. You were born out of adultery. These are attacks that killed you. I didn't mean to say the word kill. That unalived you before you were born. There were real circumstances of how all of us got here. I was a mistake child.
Okay.
And my mom tried to abort me 3 times and it didn't work. So I was already born in a situation that could have made me an alcoholic, but instead of drinking my father's alcohol, I became his bartender. And I served men in our shop house.
So because you were born, if I may say this about you personally, because you were born in that environment, like you just said, you could have ended up being any of those negative things: a drug addict, or alcoholic, a homosexual, one to take one's life, all of those negative things because of the way that you came in this world. That's where God comes in. God has control of no matter what the situation is. And I have to say this part for you and all those other men out there and women that were born into a society of such as you described and have what might say beat the odds. I have some of those in my family. Beat the odds of being abused. And you can be abused verbally as well as physically. But you beat the odds because why? You were around, I believe, I don't know about you personally, I wasn't around you during those times, that you have become who you are away from that habitual lifestyle because of the environment that you chose to grow up in. And that's as you got older to manhood, becoming your own man with a family. And afterwards, that you put yourself in such an environment where there were a lot of positive men, a lot of positive things being said, your support system, so that you can develop a mindset that you don't have to be the way you were born into. You don't have to live that way. You meaning not just you, but men, period. Women, we don't have to live the life that we were born into. We choose to be different. Some of us. Now, there are those that don't choose to live in a different lifestyle. There are those who are persuaded to continue to live in a drunken environment, in a drug-infested family area. They just can't seem to pull themselves away. That's where the mental status come in. If you are mentally unstable and it kind of draws you to stay in that environment because you feel like that's the way you're supposed to be, there's nothing else out there for me, I can't do no better, all of these other, because why? You may have been in a position where your environment was not positive enough, or you chose not to get out of that environment for whatever reason, because there are choices. We have choices. And we decide how we want to live it, the life that we're given. Yes.
So now let me carry you on from the basics of the mental trauma to one more basic, and that's, we know we are not, as an African American or American that's got of African descent, bloodline, if you will. Some people say we segregation because we are segregating, calling ourselves African while we are born in America. Okay, however you like to have it. We have a social status in this country that we were born into, and we have never broken that social status in this country. And that's just the way it is. And so now,
why haven't we broken it?
Okay, that's a nice long story there that deals with imperialism and the way that it's set up here, and the fact that the Black man just started getting mental health treatment in the last 50 years or less, started getting social status within the last 80 years. Oh yes, that, we just got the right to vote less, a couple of 100 years ago. So we don't have the track record. We don't have the cash flow. Our Caucasian brothers and sisters have slavery that's standing on that money right now. They have that money in their bank account that their father and their forefathers and the fathers before them created and generated wealth that's paying it forward, and also generating the businesses, top businesses right now in the United States. Now, we have quite a few businesses, but generational wealth is not supporting a lot of us. Some generational wealth, 1 or 2 properties coming from our immediate family, but I said generational wealth, not generational riches. Riches is money that you can, you start spending it. It'll be gone in about a couple of years. Wealth is perpetual. It's in your insurance policies. It's in your corporations that you're members of. It's ingrained in your family. That's what I mean by generational wealth. It's already set. You have college paid for the next 3 generations. We are born in an underprivileged situation, and we've never got out of it. And so now we're third-class citizens in this country. Now I want everybody to go Google that to see where the African-American man, my chest cutting up, sinuses, I'm sorry, is African-American man is on the social status. We make less money than any one group here in America. White man, the Latino man, the Asian man, all 3 of them got us beat. That's not something I'm proud of. Numerically, they can tell us what they think we make. Studies can tell. All the studies ain't lying. The black man is the least in median income and wealth in his family in these United States. Now, the reason I say that that's a mental health issue, and I'll close out to answer your question, is we have invented and created, now I sound like Black History Month, more methods, more products, more services, rock and roll, soul music. We've created some giant products in America that should have made us wealthier than any nation, oil-bearing nation like Dubai. And no, we should be wealthier. Africa should be wealthier for all those diamonds, all those natural resources. And here in America, our knowledge that we put into this society and in this America, not to mention our labor, last sentence, we should be the wealthiest people in the United States. But mentally, we do not own the rights, copyrights, ownerships of the things that we have invented. If we have invented them, they were bought from us or taken from us and put on the market, and we don't get no residuals. We don't own them anymore. The nation is not benefiting from them, and we just happy if we got 1 or 2 billionaires.
Well, you know, it is unfortunate, but I have to say this. We want to have our Black men to become more productive. And I will leave this segment of the show with this in mind. We, meaning the men and the women, in supporting other Black men, young boys coming up from little babies, as you mentioned earlier, to encourage them and show them as an extended family, because many of them don't have a wholesome family.
I just read a statistic, and I take issue when you say become more productive. One is we're now, America's depending on us to choose the next president of the United States. And I'm going to try to summarize what I just read. I know I got 10 seconds to say this. We, African-American men, are on record statistically, we spend more time with our children doing their homework than any other race. I just read that before the show started. So we're productive. You're just telling me that I'm not.
No.
And I'm not getting paid for it. So it doesn't look like it.
Right.
And half of us are in jail, so that's just making it look even worse.
Right.
But there's more people in school, more Black men in school than there is in prison. I just read that statistic.
Amen.
I'm sorry.
Amen. Well, folks, we just wanted to give you some highlights on what it's like as far as what Black men want and what they desire, what they need, what they must have. And my top answer with that is support. And that support system covers a lot of areas. The whole thing, they require some support. I am definitely one that is willing to do what I can with these little boys that I have become involved with again at one of the local elementary schools, and beginning to train them so that they
can we do a second show because we're out of time on this one.
Yes, we can, sir. We can move forward. And I just want to thank you all for this time. Thank you. I was just so nicely reminded that the clock is up.
I don't want none of this cut off.
All right now. All right. Thank you, Lord, for this time. Thank you for being who you are in our lives. Thank you for this opportunity as we move forward in Jesus' name. Be with us all and touch all hearts and minds in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. 107.5, ladies and gentlemen. WECU, awesome radio. Love you guys. See you on the next show.